Hi, this is SSA Made Easy answering the questions. What do I need to get a replacement Social Security card? And what do I need to get my child a replacement Social Security card? For an adult 18 or over that already has a Social Security number, all you need is a valid ID. You can bring in a driver's license, a passport, legal permanent resident card. It could be a work authorization card, naturalization document, or a state ID. They can accept any of those. If you don't have any of these, then you could bring in a doctor's letter. On the doctor's letter, it has to be on their letterhead with your name, your date of birth. They have to sign and date it and put a statement on there stating that you are patient there at that office. The letter has to be dated within 2 years of you applying for the replacement card. You cannot bring in a copy. It has to be an original. It has to be wet signed. If you don't have a doctor, you are able to bring in a school record that has the school's letterhead on it. They date it, they sign it. It has to have your name and your date of birth. It cannot be a copy, and the letter has to be dated within the last 2 years. And you can't bring in a document stating that you went to school there, ABC School, high school back in 1985, you graduated from there. They won't accept it. It's too old. It doesn't show that you went to school within the last 2 years or that you graduated within the last 2 years. What will they not accept? They will not accept county IDs, copies of documents, fax documents. Again, they want originals. They won't accept any prison IDs. A lot of people come in that have just left prison or jail and they come in with their ID. They do not accept it. They're not allowed to accept it. Or even a birth certificate. A birth certificate just shows that somebody existed. So they will not accept it. So you can't use that as ID. Just think about if you were driving and getting pulled over, would you be able to give them a birth certificate if the officer said, "Let me see your ID"? Or, would you be able to give him copies of documents? They probably won't accept it as your ID. So that's why, just think of it like that when you're going into the Social Security office. If you're looking to get a replacement card for somebody under 18, a child, then as a parent, you have to have a valid ID. Just remember that. The child also has to have a valid ID, such as a passport, driver's license, legal permanent resident card, a work authorization card if they have it, or a state ID, anything like that. If the child has a school ID, the child has to go into the office with you when you apply for the child to get the Social Security card or the replacement card. The child has to go in with you. Most school IDs do not have the child's name and date of birth on it, but they do have a picture of the child with the high school name on there or the whatever school on there. So then the person that will take the application will see your ID, will see the school ID and the child there. If the child doesn't go, then they won't accept the school ID without the child there. If the child doesn't have any of these IDs, say the child's only 2 years old and doesn't have a passport or anything like that, then you are able to bring in a doctor's letter. On the doctor's letter has to be the letterhead on there with the child's name and date of birth. They date it, they sign it, they put a small note stating that the child is a patient there at that office, and the child's name and date of birth, and they can accept that. It has to be dated within the last 4 years. It has to be wet signed, no copies, no faxes, no emails. It has to be an original. If the child doesn't have that, the child's in school, you can also bring in a school record. It has to have the school's letterhead on it. It has to be dated and signed by a school official. It has to have the child's name and date of birth on it. And it has to be an original and dated within the last 4 years. Again, they will not accept any copies, and so don't bring any copies in. What will they not accept? They're not going to accept any crib cards. They will not accept birth certificates, faxes, or emails of documents. Again, with the birth certificate, all it shows is that somebody existed. If the child already had a Social Security number issued, say at the hospital, you already signed up for it, or you went in previously and got the Social Security number or the card, then you don't need the birth certificate any longer because it's already been established. The crib cards, again, it's not a dated and signed document, even though it might look like it was signed, but it's not an original copy. They don't accept those crib cards. They don't accept any copies that you left from the hospital or that you received recently. It has to be an original document. A lot of documents that they give when people leave the hospital, leave the, doctor's office or whatever, are copies, so they won't accept it. That most of the time, when I was working at Social Security, we asked people to get the letter from the doctor. It was the easiest thing. Usually people came back within the day to get the card. And if you live in a area with a lot of children, then most doctors in that area know. If not, just remember what I told you. It has to be on the letterhead, name, date of birth, either of yourself or the child. They have to date it, sign it, and just put a little note on there that you're a patient at that office. I know it can be frustrating, especially if you don't have any IDs. You might not have any doctors, but there might be a doctor that'll accept you and fill out that information so that you can bring it to Social Security so that you can get the card. Hopefully it helps you get any other IDs if you're just coming out of jail or anything like that. There are exceptions to this. There are other things that they take, but this is by far the vast majority of cases that I saw. Most people coming in wanting to get IDs for themselves or their child, and that's it. So okay, I hope this helps. If so, click the like button. If not, ask questions in the comments below. Please subscribe for more information on everything Social Security. This is SSA Made Easy.